Previously, Yuya is despised by everyone in life for his looks, even his nuclear family reject him. However, his granddad continued to care for him, giving him life advice to always help people. One day he kind of saves Kaori from some hooligans harassing her by taking a beat down. It is later revealed that his grandfather passed away and left his property to Yuya, which leads to his parents disowning him for not being able to access the inheritance. Left alone, unloved and bullied, he gets frustrated and punches his bathroom wall, which leads to his grandfather's hidden antique room. He finds a door that leads to another fantasy world with magic and a system. He levels up there, but unbeknownst to him, his stats carry over to the real world, causing his body to transform into a Chad. When he returns to school, everyone is shocked, and his siblings are salty to see the change. Things continue with Yuya doing ironing. Although his mind is preoccupied with thinking about the lady he saved in the fantasy world, he wonders if she's recovering fine. But his mind is at ease a little because when he left, people had arrived to tend to her. The guy notices that since his transformation there are only 2 white tops that fit him. He has some money from cashing out from his adventures in the other world, so he decides to buy new clothes. Even though the system has alerted him that his shirt will never get dirty, he doesn't want to be seen wearing the same clothes every day. Yuya heads to the local mall and he notices that all the ladies are staring at him and commenting on how beautiful he is, because he's the Chad of Chads with a doctorate degree in quantum physics. Shout out to Tej Cafe. Their gaze starts to make him feel uncomfortable, so he rushes to the store to get his clothes so that he can quickly go home. Meanwhile, at a different part of the shopping center, fashion photographer Hikaru gets irate at show's manager because the star has yet to arrive, which is delaying the production. He comments that it's not the first time that they have had to deal with the guy's lateness, and the photographer lets it be known that show has been slacking off. All his manager can do is apologize on his behalf. He receives a call from a colleague telling him that they can't get hold of Show. He passes this information to Hikaru but assures him that his client is coming. This only gets the photographer angry to the point that one of his staff has to hold him back. The theme of the shoot centers around a hot couple shopping together, so without the boyfriend it can't be done. Myo is the female lead and has been there since morning, but she doesn't mind waiting a little longer for him. Hikaru decides to do a sudden casting by finding a worthy man in the shopping mall since they are on a tight schedule. During that interim, Yuya struggles to pick out some outfits as he's overwhelmed by the choices. He's interrupted by 2 ladies who want him to accompany them shopping. The guy is not used to this kind of attention and freezes, thinking that it's some kind of high-pressure sales tactic by the store, but he realizes that they are just flirting with him. He thinks fast and gives them a polite excuse as to why he can't join them. However, he does so with so much riz that the girls stand there in a dream world as he leaves. All the while, Hikaru begins his hunt and his assistant doesn't believe they can find someone who's that photogenic. Yuya moves to the next store hoping that the ladies didn't get offended. At this point, they finally regain their consciousness, feeling like they just had a supernatural experience. As Yuya leaves, he catches Hikaru's eye. The photographer follows him to the next shop and explains their predicament before pleading for his help to play the boyfriend. Yuya forgets he's handsome now, so he agrees to participate as long as they don't mind having someone like him doing it. The shoppers stop and admire as they take pictures. He's even happier to help after seeing how many people have been inconvenienced by Show. The 2 models get dressed in various outfits while they get photographed doing different couple activities. Hikaru instructs Yuya to smile and be more natural as he takes his shots. Myo tries to sympathize with him as it's his first time, which makes him blush. The guy's breath is taken away as he admires her beauty. She breaks his gaze by commenting on how much he saved the shoot. With everyone's schedules, this was the only time available. The guy is just thinking about how close she is to him. Myo leaves him for a moment to discuss something with the photographer. Yuya watches on, impressed with her work efficiency given that she's not that much older than him. This inspires him to be more confident so that he doesn't become a burden. She quickly rushes over to him for the next set of photos and gets a little too close to Yuya, which gets him nervous again. At this point, the whole mall has gathered to watch them. Meanwhile, in the fantasy world, Lexia recovers in her room, but she daydreams while staring outside the window thinking about Yuya. She recalls the moment of her locking eyes with him just before she lost consciousness. This stimulates her to get out of bed. The guards sit around when her room door busts open. They are confused as they watch Lexia storm through the corridor, so naturally, they ask her where she's going. She tells them that she's going to find the stranger who saved her in the darkest regions. The guards are shocked by her statement because they have already told her that humans can't live in that area. She has to find him because as a member of the royal family, she must express her gratitude to the person who saved her life. The head guard tries to be more assertive, pointing out that she was just exposed to a terrible danger in that area. She informs him not to worry because this time she will go with all of them. They all watch on wondering where she inherited this wild side from. Back in the normal world, the shoppers are still gathered as the models take a break. One of the assistants brings them a drink to help them recover. Mio uses this as an opportunity to apologize for inconveniencing him with their work. He chokes on his drink, which amuses Mio. Although she offers him her handkerchief to wipe himself, he's too shy to accept it. When things calm down, Yuya expresses his newfound appreciation for the modeling industry and the behind-the-scenes work that goes unseen. Mio confesses that she made so many mistakes when she started, which made a lot of people mad. Yuya also opens up more, disclosing that he has never worn stylish clothes like these before, as he had no connection to fashion due to his hideousness. He only saw such a lifestyle in magazines. He is interested to know why Mio started working as a model. She explains that her parents didn't give her much attention due to work, so she decided to start modeling as a way for them to see her. Even though she doesn't see herself as very impressive, she's got fans who cheer her on and write letters to her. It makes her happy that people find joy in looking at her pictures. She advises Yuya to take every moment and enjoy it to its fullest, as having that mentality helps in the future. As the two discuss and laugh, Hikaru sees the authenticity of the moment and takes a lovely picture. Their conversation is interrupted when Sho arrives and rudely makes his presence known. Mio's facial expression suddenly changes. The ladies in the crowd begin to whisper among themselves as their excitement slowly starts to rise when they confirm that it's the star. He sends the crowd wild when he waves at them. The ladies scream how much they love him as he walks over to Mio. The guy doesn't even acknowledge Yuya and offers to take her out after they finish the shoot, but she's not interested, so she draws back. This gives him the perfect opportunity to cabin in her. Yuya notices how handsome Sho is, but he can see that Mio is not comfortable with his actions. So he politely calls to him to try and get his attention, but he ignores him again. Yuya gets more assertive with his calls, which forces Sho to respond in an annoyed state. Yuya points out that he doesn't think that Mui approves of his behavior. Cho steps back to punch Yuya, unaware of the handkerchief under his pushing leg. Yuya's capabilities come to life as he slips his attack and in one smooth motion judo throws him to the floor. This knocks him out on impact. Time pauses for a brief moment as everyone holds their mouths in shock. Yuya is a little surprised by the sudden attack, but he notes that his movements were really slow. He even threw more dynamically than he intended, and the guy begins to panic when Cho doesn't move for a moment. He fears that everyone will yell at the ugly guy for beating the handsome one. But to his shock, the reaction is the exact opposite. The girls begin to scream in admiration, calling him cool. They have all switched their love to Yuya. Cho stumbles on his feet, surprised that his boxing let him down on this occasion. Hikaru tells him that they caught the entire exchange on camera. This revelation forces Cho to dash away from the scene, embarrassed, as his manager follows. Mio looks at him with admiration as she thanks him for the save. He shyly accepts the appreciation. Hikaru comes over to make sure that his star models aren't hurt. He comments that this incident is likely going to be the end of Cho. As he said earlier, the guy's behavior has always been bad. No one will give him work now. Mio reveals that he has been following her around recently and she didn't know how to deal with it. Hikaru apologizes for not noticing and assures her that he will let the director know so that Cho will be dealt with. The photographer offers Yuya a lucrative contract working as a model. He is extremely grateful, but he declines the contract, stating that he still has so much personal development to do. Hikaru doesn't press any further due to respect for Yuya. Since he's young, the photographer tells him that the offer is still on the table whenever he wants to pick it up. Since work has finished, Hikaru gives him a few expensive clothes as payment for his work. He would have preferred to pay with money, but their agency will not allow him to do so as he is classed as an amateur. Hikaru informs him that all of them have been sized perfectly. Yuya is a little apprehensive about accepting such pricey goods as he feels that the experience he gained is enough as payment. The photographer puts it in a way that makes accepting it easier. Mio just watches on with a warm smile on her face. Yuya says his final goodbyes to everyone before leaving. Mio expresses her wish to work with him in the future. On the car ride home, Mio looks over the day's pictures and begins to blush thinking about Yuya. Hikaru notices and teases her about it, which embarrasses her. Yuya also returns home and admires the new clothes and shoes that he was given. Meanwhile, in the fantasy world, Lexia's expedition to the darkest region has taken a turn for the worse when they are attacked by a horde of goblins. Owen tries his best to coordinate a defense, but they are on the back foot. He contemplates retreating, but with their dwindled numbers, they can't execute it. Unbeknownst to them, a goblin sneaks to attack the princess from behind. However, Yuya saves her again before it can do any damage. Everyone stares at him in shock as he elegantly defeats the remaining goblins. Lexia's heart beats as she knew he would come. Yuya rushes over to the injured men and begins to give them healing potions. Owen watches on confused as he wants to know who he is. The princess interrupts and rushes over to Yuya and asks him to marry her. Everyone shouts in bafflement. Wait, does that mean her men died just so that she could see her crush? Back in the human world, the modeling industry starts to get wind of Yuya's talent. After seeing the pictures, some executives begin to make their move, hiring private investigators to track Yuya down. From his picture, they can see a generational talent. Things continue with Yuya scratching his head, confused by Lexia's sudden proposal. Owen questions if the princess is in her right mind. However, she reiterates and affirms her proposal, but her escort feels like it is a bit inappropriate for a lady of her stature to express such a thing out loud. Although Yuya saved her, they still don't know anything about him. The stubborn princess proclaims that it was love at first sight and challenges him if he has a problem with that. Owen recoils a bit when he realizes that she's upset. She begins to point out how he's always nagging and telling her what to do. Yuya interrupts their little fight, offering to host them at his house since it's not safe standing in the forest like free bait for the monsters. Everyone is surprised that he has a crib in the forest. When they arrive, the other soldiers stand guard outside, and Owen can't believe that there is a residence within the darkest region. Yuya serves them tea, but before they take a sip, Owen formally introduces himself and his rank. Lexia then introduces herself with elegance as a lady of her caliber should. She thanks him again for saving them. Yuya is shocked to hear that she's a princess and second in line for the throne. He begins to get worried that he could get in trouble for speaking with her in such a casual manner. Owen assures him that it's not an issue since it's an unofficial visit. He also saved their lives so they can overlook it. Yuya also introduces himself, but they haven't heard of such a name before. The princess pulls Owen to the side, speculating he must be noble from another country. Owen thinks that he could be a wandering mage who is exploring the world and doing research, but she lands on her assumption of him being a royal, and she gets excited at the prospect of the royal wedding. Owen also internally considers that he might be a spy from another country, but he discards that theory as unlikely based on the situation. They confess to Yuya that they came looking for him, which baffles him. Lexia wanted to thank him for the first time he saved her. She didn't get the chance because she lost consciousness. She confesses that since the rescue, her heart has been beating for him and she has never felt that way before. Owen cringes a little in the background as Yuya also steps back. With his back against the bookshelf, she proposes to him again. Dr. Riz is a bit overwhelmed by everything. He is happy that she feels that way about him, but he thinks marriage is a bit too sudden. Lexia is an avid reader of romance novels, so she knows that love can't be so simple. She is willing to overcome all the obstacles, so she proposes that they start as friends. Hearing those words makes him think of all the rejections he has suffered up until that point. He looks at Lexia's eager face and blushes before accepting that arrangement, which is sealed with a soft handshake. Before things escalate, Owen clears his throat and proclaims that with that handshake, it is settled that Lexia's gratitude has been successfully received by her savior. He pleads with Yuya to escort them back to their carriage. As they ride off, the princess promises that she will win his heart the next time they meet. He waves back a little worried by her words. A short while later, Owen comes with a message from the king who wants to express his gratitude to Yuya in person. The monarch would like him to come to the palace for an audience, but he's a little nervous and finds it all so sudden. Owen understands his hesitation, but it is a royal command that cannot be left unfulfilled. When put like that, he agrees. The captain takes into consideration the journey and tells him that they would like 5 days of his time. Yuya remembers that he has Golden Week in his world, so he pleads for them to wait a little longer. Owen tells him that since they are the ones making the unreasonable demands, they are more than willing to wait until he decides on a date. Meanwhile, in the outskirts of the capital, a masked man smashes his glass in frustration when he receives word of his operation failing. His subordinate responsible admits that he has no excuses. The assassins he sent separated Lexia from her knights as planned. However, things went wrong when they entered into the darkest regions where they got wiped out by the monsters. The masked man asks why Lexia is still alive. His subordinate, however, hasn't found out that information yet. This promotes the boss to give him a piercing look before dismissing him. The guy hurries out frightened. His boss informs him that he's only getting one more chance. The subordinate calls him His Highness as he expresses his understanding. As soon as he leaves, the masked man drops his face covering and stares at the ceiling, stating that he will never forget what Lexia has done to him and promises that she will not escape his revenge. Meanwhile, in the normal world, Yuya marks the day he intends to meet the king on his calendar. The current day is his first as an official student of Usui Academy. He gets the uniform on and leaves. As he commutes, the ladies from different schools admire him. You know you are the ultimate city boy when even the salarymen are flushed too. Yuya keeps his head down, still not used to the attention. Upon his arrival, the chairman gives him a quick welcome since he has an urgent meeting to attend. His teacher reintroduces him to the class as an official student. Ryu and Shingdo, who are his friends from his trial day, give him a welcome wave. After that lesson, the students have PE where they play soccer. The girls stop their tennis lesson and begin to cheer the boys on. The opposition can't stop Ryu as he dances past them and puts the ball in the net while the girls scream. Yuya watches on and is impressed by how good Ryu is. Keat agrees and wonders why the newcomer is not participating. He tells her that his PE uniform is not ready yet. The two continue to watch the match when Ryu passes the ball to Akira, who wants to impress the girls too. He takes a shot that goes astray. It jets towards Keat, who braces for impact when suddenly Yuya overhead kicks the ball from an impossible position straight into the net. Prime Cristiano Ronaldo would be impressed. Everyone watches on stunned. Even Ryu is confused by the movement he just witnessed. Yuya sticks the landing perfectly and makes his way over to Keat to make sure that she's okay. At this point, she has fallen for him. Ichinos rushes over quickly and gives his deepest apologies, and even offers to serve her for the rest of his life, but she assures him that she's fine. Ryu vouches for Ichino's good intentions even though he's pretty quirky. He introduces himself to Yuya and thanks him for saving him from a lot of trouble. Later on, the girls get changed and they discuss Yuya's impressive feat, which made them fall for him even more. Kaori walks in on their conversation discussing Yuya. They explain the situation to her, and the other girls are sure that someone like him has to have a girlfriend. They even wonder how she would look like. At this point, Yuya is the father of Riz, who wrote the syllabus to quantum physics. Both Kaori and Ki get jealous at the thought and make the same comment simultaneously. While Yuya's class goes back to the indoor lesson, Kaori's class has their PE session. The newcomer sits by the window and spots Kaori outside. They wave to each other when suddenly the school's main gate is knocked down by some hooligans on motorbikes. The hooligans make their way straight to the girls and surround them, intimidating the poor females with their weapons. Yuya's teacher announces that they should do some self-study and warns them not to leave the classroom. The teachers come out and order the thugs to desist their actions instantly. One of the students recognizes them as the Red Ogres. According to sources, they are the most dangerous group of delinquents in the area, but the students are confused by their presence. The group's name is familiar to Yuya, who remembers that it's the gang his old bully Araki belonged to. He looks down and sees him and his younger siblings. Kaori stands up to them, asking them what business they have at the school. It is unfortunate that the chairman isn't around to deal with them. They ask Yuya's siblings if she's their target, and they confirm it, revealing that they are doing this out of spite that she allowed their older brother to attend the school while looking down on them. Kaori informs them that the police will be on site soon to stop this madness, but the siblings are sure that they can do their damage before then. The gangster notes that it would be problematic if law enforcement shows up, so they want to abduct their target as planned and leave. Yuya's younger brother also wants to see his older brother suffer. Just as they prepare to take Kaori, Yuya gets up immediately and heads for the door, but to his shock, his feet are planted in place, shaking in fear. He doesn't understand what is happening because he has fought more dangerous opponents in the other world. Even though his body has grown stronger, he feels like his heart is still weak. His head starts to spin with all the negative self-talk, but he takes control and slaps himself back into focus while his classmates watch. He tells them that he's going to help while walking towards the window, which confuses Ryu, who points out that the door is the other way. The class starts to panic when he opens and jumps from the window as they are on the 4th floor. He lands flawlessly, which catches the attention of everyone. His classmates are surprised that he's okay. Yuya immediately dashes to save the chairman's daughter, but Araki stands in his way. He states that his punching bag has gotten cocky since his transfer to the fancy school. For that infraction he must be punished. Some of his colleagues attack Yuya, but he easily dodges and disarms them before proceeding forward. Araki himself blocks his way and attacks, but he dashes past him because they have almost completed the kidnapping. As he gets closer, a big guy steps forward. He takes a sumo stance and charges toward Yuya. but Yuya stops him with one hand and tosses him into a parked bike like an unwanted lettuce. After witnessing their tank get handled like the toy variant, they back off from Kaori as he walks over to make sure she's unharmed. The head of the gang was watching the whole time and decides to get involved by attacking with his bike, but Yuya manages to evade all of his strikes and does him dirty like one of those skilled Spanish bullfighters. This delay has given the police enough time to make it to the school to catch the attackers in the act. After a short while, the hooligans are rounded up along with his siblings. Kaori almost collapses from exhaustion, but Yuya catches her and they have a moment. Meanwhile, his younger brother starts to badmouth the Red Ogres for not doing their job. This annoys their leader, who holds him by the neck tightly as he blames him for his poor planning. The sister pleads for him to let go, but he kicks her away, and all the police can do is watch an ending happening before their eyes. He pleads for someone to help him. Yuya comes in and calmly asks the leader to let go of his little brother. He forces them apart when the bandit boss doesn't listen. He makes sure his little bro is alright as he gasps for air. The leader dashes toward Yuya to attack him, but a piercing look crushes his fighting spirit as he submits to the real alpha. His siblings are confused that Yuya helped them despite the horrible treatment they have been giving him throughout his life. Although he has not forgiven everything they have done to him, he tells them that he can't abandon his family. His words strike them in the core of their heart as they cry and beg for forgiveness from their older brother. When everything settles down, his friends and classmates rush over to him and begin to praise him for his good work while Kaori leaves with the girls impressed by Yuya. That brings the episode to an end.